Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you tonight? My name is Jess Yoni-Kohler. I'm the Director of Guidance here at Connecticut Schools. It's lovely to see so many of you here in person this evening. Tonight we have a very special presentation where you'll be getting an overview on the financial aid process. We have a wonderful guest speaker who has been with us now for a few years, Julie Van Nostrand from Suffolk Community College. She is a financial counselor and associate professor. She knows this stuff inside and out, so we are in very good hands for the evening. I do want to start off the evening by saying at many points through this presentation, it is very likely that you may have questions. What I'm going to ask is that you wait until the end of the presentation. We will absolutely have a question and answer session, but it is possible that some of your questions may be answered through the program. So, we want to encourage you that if you have questions, please feel free. We want to hear from you, but we'll wait till the end of the evening for that. Some things that are related, but separate. If your children have not had their appointments with their counselors to discuss the college application process at this point, I definitely want to encourage you to encourage them and the students in the room to please go see your counselors as soon as possible. Let's talk about the college application process, because that part has to happen first so that this process can actually unfold for you. The other thing that I want to bring your attention to is that we do have a scholarship evening coming up. So tonight we're touching on financial aid. Scholarships are another part of the college choice process. In January, late January, we will be having a senior information session for local scholarships. I also run that program. Please check the district calendar, January, that will be going over the local. But as you will hear soon, the proposed date was originally October 1st to open the FAFSA. The federal government has moved that date. So because they have moved that date, we will be moving our date. So I want you to know that we are aware. A new date will be coming. I'm going to be working with Ms. Van Nostrand to coordinate a date so that we can get that done for you guys and on the calendar. And you'll know as soon as we have that. But without further ado, I do want to turn it over to Ms. Van Nostrand, and I will wrap it up at the end of the evening. But again, you're in great hands. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Mrs. Yoni Kohler, for inviting me tonight to speak with all of you. We're going to go over financial aid. This is like our Financial Aid 101 presentation. We're going to just cover a lot of the things that might be questions in your mind about how it works. She also indicated that the new FAFSA for the 25-26 academic year, which normally would be opening on October 1st, tomorrow, is now delayed. The federal government is saying that they are planning to open it December 1st. Fingers crossed. I'm not sure that I would put a lot of faith in that. Last year they said that again also, and the application didn't open until December 31st. And also, with the new application, the college-wide director of financial aid had a meeting with us last week and indicated that there were 18 pages worth of glitches and fixes and things that they are still working on for this year's FAFSA because of the redo of the FAFSA application. So, there are a lot of changes happening. I'm going to do my best to give you as much information as I can. As we said, we'll talk about questions at the end. Okay, so the first thing is that there are 3 campuses at Suffolk. So if you're interested in coming to Suffolk and you want to do financial aid, we have, Okay. There's Financial Aid Ammerman, which is in Selden, Fade East, which is where I'm at in Riverhead, and Fade West, which is out in Brentwood. Another very important thing that I know probably a lot of colleges will have is on our financial aid page. Does this have like a pointer thing? Left? Oh yeah, okay. Right there where it says printable forms. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, so there's a lot of information that we have on our website. Printable forms would include things like appeals. I'll talk about that. Talk about different things for special circumstances. Also, if you want a loan, there's information about that on those forms. You don't have to come to the college to get it. You can just get it on printable forms. Okay, so let's talk about the types of aid that are out there. Grants, money you do not have to pay back. Loans, right? Money you do have to pay back. And scholarships. So we're going to touch a little bit on scholarships, but I know you're having a whole other presentation about that. Now, a lot of people will come into my office and say, I'm not, if they're loan eligible only, they'll say I'm not eligible for financial aid. No, financial aid includes loans. Okay, it's just the kind of loan that you have to, kind of financial aid you have to pay back. So we talked about the FAFSA. The first word in FAFSA is free. There are a lot of unscrupulous people on the internet, I know this is not breaking news, that will say there's a fee to file the FAFSA. There is no fee to file the FAFSA. There might be a fee for them to assist you in completing the FAFSA, but there's no fee to file a FAFSA. There's also a lot of unscrupulous people out there who say, we're going to get you the most, and we're going to... It's all very formulaic. You just answer the questions, and there's no way that anybody can kind of game the system, if you will. So you want to go to studentaid.gov. Don't go to FAFSA.com. That's a scam website. And if you need help, if you really are running into a snag and you need help completing the FAFSA, call us. Oh, by the way, I brought some goodies here for you. Please take advantage. Also, my card is there. If you need help, call me. We set up Zoom appointments. Even if you're not coming to Suffolk, I've helped a lot of people who are going elsewhere. It's fine, I'll help you. It's not that hard. We can figure it out. Okay, so what I was alluding to before about the delays and the 18 pages worth of changes is the FAFSA Simplification Act, which went into effect this year, 24-25. It was passed in 2020. They've been working on it this long. They still haven't gotten it right. It was a sweeping redesign of the FAFSA. It went from 130 some odd questions down to 40. So they've really streamlined the process dramatically. It does make the FAFSA easier in some respects, and it also expands access. So in the past, students and their families might not be eligible for financial aid, for grant aid, but now it has expanded the access, so more people will be eligible for grant aid. All right, so what are they looking at? How do they determine what kind of aid you're eligible for? They're going to look at your federal tax return. They're going to look at your family size, and that's going to be a function of the number of people that are reported on your tax return. The other thing that's important that I will mention now is that FAFSA always runs 2 years behind. So when you're ready to do the 25-26 FAFSA, you will use documentation from 2023. They're going to look for your 2023 tax return. That's a good thing in some respects. It's not a good thing in other respects, and we will talk about that. They're also going to be asking about assets, and this always makes everybody unhappy, like, oh, you're going to talk about my house? No. They're going to talk about if you have another house, if you have other real estate elsewhere, rental properties, things like that, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and college savings plans. Those are the things that they're looking at when they're talking about assets, when they're asking about assets. They don't want to know about your car, they don't want to know about your boat, and they don't want to know about your house. They want to know about the other things that you might have. This is referring to the 24-25 FAFSA, which uses the 22 income tax. You will be doing the 25-26 FAFSA, which will be using the 23 tax return. And at that point, we were really delayed in getting FAFSAs sent to us. I don't know what the turnaround is going to be once the FAFSA opens, if it even opens in December. You know, there are a lot of question marks right now. But the one thing that you can do, you can go home and do this tonight, is get an FSA ID and password. Very important. Your FSA ID and password is your electronic signature. So you can go on, just Google FSA ID, and you will need to give them a social security number. If you do not have a social security number as a parent, it's okay. In the past, you weren't able to get an FSA ID without a social security number. Now you can. They're going to be looking for your full name as it appears on your social security card, your date of birth, and a unique email address and phone number. All right, so I work with a lot of students who come in and say, oh, I used my mom's phone number and it's all messed up and things get all tangled. Keep them separate, because a parent and the student will need an FSA ID and password. If the parents are married filing jointly, only one needs to have an FSA ID and password. If the parents are married filing separately or any other iteration, both parents already existing FSA ID, and you have to go through the process of answering the challenge questions or calling them. I've worked with parents and students who have forgotten their FSA ID and password, changed email addresses. It's a nightmare. You don't want to be in that position. So keep the same email address, and write down your FSA ID and password. Keep it in a safe place. You will need it every year. And like I said, it's really problematic. You can't get a new one. And there's a reason for this. They make this they try and make it as unhackable as possible. This is your personal financial information. This is the key that's going to unlock your tax return. So they're trying to make it as unhackable as possible. So they're going to make you jump through a lot of fiery hoops to prove that you are who you say you are. So, we have to definitely, as I said, write it down. Don't make the challenge questions complicated. Did I write street, ST, period? Did I write street, STREET? Keep it simple. Do the questions at the end. Okay. So this is new. This is the consent. When you have an FSA ID and password as the student and as the parent, you will give consent to FAFSA to go into your records into the IRS for them to retrieve your financial data. In the past, you could do a data retrieval tool, but there was an option where you could kind of sit there and go through your tax return and line 22 minus line 17 equals this. Of course, it created a lot of problems because, people got confused and put the wrong numbers in and things like that. And just a word to the wise, FAFSA does not process overnight. A lot of people think, unlike anything else on the internet that you work with, nothing at all, FAFSA will take approximately 2 weeks to process. So the thing that's important is that you want to definitely have enough time, so file as early as you can, and the best that you can, avoid having to go back in and change anything. Because every time you touch it, you make a correction, another 2 weeks to process. So you don't want to get caught in that loop. The other thing that's important for you to know is that in the past, you were only allowed to put in 10 schools. 10 colleges that you might be interested in. Now you're allowed to put in 20. So they've upped that number. So anyway, like I said, student will provide consent. Student will start the FAFSA application, and then they're going to come to a point where it's going to say, who are your contributors? So this is like a new word for parent or step-parent. It's not that you're contributing money, you're contributing information. So they are going to be doing this so they can get to your federal tax information, and they have a new thing now. It's called the direct data exchange. All right, and this is what they're going to be getting from the IRS into your FAFSA. Tax year, your filing status, your adjusted gross income, the number of exemptions or dependents, income earned from work, your taxes, educational benefits, IRA deductions, tax-exempt interest, pensions, things like that. Okay, that's the information that they are going to migrate over. Also, word to the wise, I would still have my federal tax return handy. Even though they are going to be bringing a lot of this information over, there may be 1 or 2 questions to which you'll have to refer to your tax return, so I would still have it handy. And this is for the parent and the student. So if the student filed taxes in 2023, that student will also have to report, give consent and report. This comes up a lot, dependency status. The federal government says that students are the responsibility of their parents until they're age 24. For New York State aid, in certain circumstances, students are considered dependent on their parents until age 36, believe it or not, in certain circumstances. Yeah. So for the most part, most students are going to fall into the dependent category, even though I have a lot of students who come in and say, I don't live with my parents. My parents don't claim me on their taxes. I'm totally separate. I have my own place. Doesn't matter. I work with students who are international students. Their parents are in another country. We still have to get their information. So most of the time, the majority of the time, you're going to be a dependent student. However, there are exceptions, right? So you're independent if you're 24 years of age or older, no matter where you live. You've been in foster care since age 13. You have a legal guardian or you're a ward of the court. Guardianship and custody are two different things. I have a lot of students who come in and say, oh, my grandmother is my guardian. And I say, okay, bring me the paperwork. And the paperwork says custody. Unfortunately, I can't use that. It has to say guardianship. You have legal dependents. I worked with a student a few years ago whose mother was her dependent. She was below age 24, but her mother depended on her for her financial support. If you have children, then there's some paperwork that we have to go through to show that you are supporting that child, but then you're independent. You're active military or a veteran. And the last item is your parental information is simply unavailable. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Your parents are deceased, they're incarcerated. There's just some other roadblock there. So like I said, for the most part, age 24, below age 24, you're going to be needing to report parental income. This slide is a little wordy, but who is going to be a contributor? I think it's easier to go to this slide. All right, in the new FAFSA, they will tell you, or they're going to give you these options to make the determination about whose information is going to need to be reported. In the past, they left it up to the student and the parent when they were doing the FAFSA, and it caused all kinds of confusion because a lot of times people would answer the question honestly, but incorrectly, and then we'd have to go in and make a correction, and it would take another 2 weeks to process. So they found a way to streamline this. So this is going to tell you whose information they need. All right, so using the eligibility determination of your income, your family size, and your assets, what are you eligible for? A Pell Grant, all right, which was named after Senator Pell, who I think died fairly recently. SEOG grant, which is additional federal financial aid. There are loans. There are two types of loans. There's a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan. A subsidized loan means that the federal government will pay the interest on your loan while you are in school. An unsubsidized loan means they won't. And that's going to be a function of your SAI, which is your Student Aid Index. It used to be a lot easier in the past. Maybe you recall, we talked about an EFC, right? Your expected family contribution. That's old lingo. New lingo is Student Aid Index, and it's a little bit more complicated. It's wrapped up with the federal poverty guidelines. There are all kinds of charts and graphs about it, but like I said, it has expanded access. So when they look at your Student Aid Index, they will make a determination as to whether or not you are eligible for a subsidized loan or an unsubsidized loan or a little bit sub and a little bit unsub. It all is a function of that number. A Parent Plus loan. Okay, so parents are eligible to take out a loan. The difference between the direct loans and the Parent Plus loans is parents will need to undergo a credit check for the loans. Students do not. And if you are getting full financial aid, if you're at the very top, you're getting the maximum amount of aid, you can still get a loan. So, and all you have to do is fill out a form. We give you that loan. And there's also work study. Work study is a wonderful opportunity to get part of your financial aid directly paid to the student. So right now there are jobs on campus only. There used to be jobs off campus, but since the pandemic, I don't know that there are very many, if any at all. Most of them are on campus. They're about $16 an hour. We work with the student's schedule. We have a work study student in our office, and it's wonderful. She does all kinds of lovely little things for us, and her financial aid gets paid directly to her in the form of a paycheck. Okay, so like I said, that student aid index is tied to eligibility. It's going to let the government know, it's going to let you know what you're eligible for. It's not, it is a measure of your family's financial strength to help pay for college. It's calculated in a formula, like I said. If you want to like bore yourself silly, you can look at it. It is not your financial aid award, and it's not how much you'll pay for college. It's just an index number to let us know what that corresponds to in terms of your eligibility. Okay, like I said, you're going to be using tax returns that are 2 years old, and that could be problematic for people. So what happens if 2 years ago your financial situation was drastically different than what it is today? We can assist you with that. So, and all colleges have this process. It's called special circumstances. So let's say there was a job loss. Let's say there was a death. Of course, we're going to have to amass documentation around these things. And the federal government asks us to look at any 12-month period. And we usually ask people to look at 3 different potential 12-month periods and determine which one is really the most accurate, that is the most representative of their financial situation today. And we might collect pay stubs, we might collect death certificates, we might collect unemployment information. And like I said, we help students and parents more accurately reflect what's going on in their finances today rather than what was going on 2 years ago. So all colleges have this. Definitely, if you feel like that's a situation that you find yourself in, definitely speak to the financial aid professionals at the school that you're planning to go to. Let them know. You will still have to file your FAFSA using that documentation from 2023, but then as a financial aid professional, we can go in and make adjustments so that this way, like I said, it more accurately reflects what's going on in your family right that minute. Same thing with these unusual circumstances. Well, you're not in guardianship and you don't have any dependents, but there's some roadblock, some reason why you cannot get in touch with your parents. Again, come and see a financial aid professional. We can assist you with this. We will require data. We will require police reports, lawyer letters, letters from doctors or psychologists, things like that, letting us know that there's really like an impediment here. There's a real roadblock here. And even though there's not formal court documentation, there is a separation here. And we can help you with that. Okay, so that's federal aid. Now let's talk about state aid. New York State TAP, which is now known as the New York State Aid Payment Application. It used to be called TAP. You have to be full-time to get TAP, 12 credits or more. However, recently they have expanded again access to, you can either get TAP for part-time or you can get aid for part-time study. Aid for part-time study for us, and I think it's probably universal through all colleges, is actually a paper application. So if you are interested in that, we ask students to fill out the aid for part-time study application, and then we make a determination as to whether or not they would get more aid from part-time TAP or they'd get more aid for part-time study, and then we award the higher amount. So if you're going part-time, this is a good option to get some additional financial aid from the state. The ideal way to apply for TAP is to go right from the FAFSA application right to TAP. So I don't think the TAP application will open October 1st. I think it will delay as will, because it's connected to the FAFSA. And I think that's what it did last year. But it's really good if you can do it. Sit down in like one night and just get that FAFSA done and then go right into that TAP application. There's going to be a link there. Say, would you like to start your state application? If you can, do it. Because if you break that link, 2 weeks to process. So that FAFSA will stop, that we'll have to process, and then in 2 weeks you'll have to go back and do the TAP. If you don't break that link, a lot of the information that you've already put in, your name, your address, your phone number, all that sort of demographic stuff gets migrated right over. And the TAP application will go like that. I mean, the FAFSA application goes pretty quickly now, but the TAP application is much, much faster. The student only will need sort of a profile, username, and password. There's only one challenge question. It's not as hard to get kind of reset as they make it. It's not as difficult as the FAFSA one, but again, write it down. Keep it in a safe place. You'll always use it. Unlike FAFSA, you can only put one school in the TAP application. So I would put the favorite one, and then if you have to go in and change it, you will go in and change it at some point. Okay, but that's going to be like you want to put in your number one school because you can only put in one. The parent for the TAP application will need to sign the TAP application at the very end. They're going to ask for some kind of ID number, like your license number or some other kind of ID number, and a signature for the parent, which that's kind of new. So this is what the TAP application looks like. Start my application right there. You will need your state tax return. So like I said, if you're doing your FAFSA, have your 2023 tax return handy, because for the state return, you will need to refer to it. There is no data transfer. And unfortunately, with the state application, unlike the federal, there is no special circumstance. So it's not been my experience that they've kind of ever changed your state award because of a special circumstance. But again, you're going to be using data that's 2 years old. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about how to get financial aid. Now let's talk about how to keep financial aid, because it's not a guarantee. The federal government says that you must successfully complete 67% of the courses that you attempt to keep your financial aid. So like, let's put that in real words or in a real scenario. So let's say, I blew up the SAP chart here. So let's say you're your first semester student and you're enrolled for 12 credits. You are full-time. Okay, so you're taking 4 classes, 3 credits each. Maybe that math class not going so well, so you withdraw. Maybe that English class, you tried really, really hard, but you failed. So now you've only passed successfully 50% of the courses that you have attempted. You've lost your aid. You had to hit the 8 credit mark with a 1.6 GPA in order to keep your aid. So let's say you stay in every one of these classes, but you scrape by with a 1.5 GPA. You've lost your aid. All right, so now it's the fall semester. It wasn't a good semester. You're going to start again. You're going to start again in the spring, take another 12 credits. Now you're down here. You've attempted 24 credits. Okay, well, you already have 6. You really only need 10. I'm not advocating for that, but you need to get to 16 completed with a 1.7 GPA to get your aid back. The problem with this list is it's cumulative. So every time you add credits, you up the ante of completion. So a lot of times students think, oh, I'll just take more classes and I'll get right back. No, because it's always upping the ante of completion. A lot of times students think, I'll just skip a semester and they'll forget it. Doesn't happen like that. The federal government has a very long memory. I work with students who've been away from the college, away from school for 25 years, and we look back and we say, sorry, you're not making satisfactory academic progress, or SAP, and you're blocked from aid. So let's say the semester, something kind of really bad happened in the middle of the semester. And maybe you were ill, maybe a family member was ill, maybe you were in a car accident, maybe the list goes on and on of the things that could possibly have happened that kind of derailed you in the semester. You can submit an appeal. Typically, appeals are one-time only things. You can't submit an appeal, get it approved, and then the next semester say, oh, you remember that thing that happened the first time? It happened again. We're not going to be able to approve that appeal. But if you have some other sort of unexpected thing that derails you in a future semester, we can entertain another appeal. Appeals you can get on printable forms. Appeals are something that you can pretty much universal throughout colleges. So even if you're not coming to Suffolk, there's an appeal process. We ask for documentation, and it's not because we're nosy. We will collect death certificates, police reports, things like that, doctor's notes, because the federal government audits us, and they want to make sure that we are good stewards of your tax dollars. So we do get audited. So as I said, we will have to collect documentation. So that is SAP. There is state SAP, but it is super complicated. So you can also lose your state aid. It's easier to get back on the chart, so to speak, for state aid. So it's not cumulative in the way that the federal one is. So, but if I tried to explain it to you, it's extremely complicated. Okay, so let's talk about other supports. All right, like I was talking about before, loans. As a first-year student, you have the eligibility of having a maximum of $5,500 in loans. Split in half. Remember, that's a yearly loan, so it's only going to be about $2,200 and something per semester. So a lot of times, the typical tuition at Suffolk for a semester is somewhere around $3,200. So a lot of times, students are like, oh, I'll get that $5,500 loan. I'm good for the fall. No, you're not, because it's going to get cut in half, and it's only going to be $2,200 and something. So you have to have alternate means to be able to pay the rest of your tuition. So it goes by number of credits completed and whether you're independent or dependent. You start out with a $3,500 loan that can either, remember I talked about sub and unsub, it could be a little of this and a little of that, or all sub or all unsub. The additional $2,000 is always unsub. Always unsub. You must complete a master promissory note. Now this is for the student. And also entrance counseling, which will take the student probably about an hour to do. And it is designed to help students understand that this is a loan that will have to get paid back at some point. And you don't want to be one of these folks who defaults, because it's hard to get back on the track. You have to show, I've worked with students who have defaulted on their loans. They have to get all kinds of documentation from the federal government showing that that loan has been satisfied before a new loan can be issued. And as I said before, the Parent Plus loan, there is a credit check for the Parent Plus loan. The Jose Peralta DREAM Act, this is for students who are DACA, who have temporary protected status. This is a scholarship from New York State. I've only done a couple of these applications, but if you need assistance, please call us. We'll help you. All you really need to do is upload your high school transcript for the Jose Peralta DREAM Act, and it's a really good opportunity for folks who aren't eligible for FAFSA. Okay, how many people have heard of Excelsior Scholarship? Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. It was kind of more popular or talked about a little bit more years ago. This is the Excelsior Scholarship in New York. You may have heard of tuition-free college in New York. All right, so this is the Excelsior Scholarship. It is up to $5,500 per year. It's a tuition-only scholarship. All right, so that means that if you're getting a little bit of money from Pell, a little grant from Pell, and if you're getting a little money from TAP, just a little bit, this scholarship will cover what's left over of tuition only. It will not cover books, it will not cover fees, it will not cover any other thing. The only thing it will cover is tuition. So let's put it into a scenario. Let's say tuition's $3,000, you're getting $1,000 from Pell, you're getting $1,000 from TAP. That additional $1,000 will get covered by Excelsior. The family income eligibility is up to $125,000 a year. So if your family makes more than $125,000 per year, not eligible. Like I said, it's a last dollar scholarship. You have to be enrolled in at least 12 college level credits. You have to be full-time in degree. And you have to be full-time your entire time you are in school, unless you have taken all your credits and there's nothing left in your degree, then they give you a special waiver because there's nothing left for you to complete. The ideal thing is to take 15 credits per semester because you have to complete 30 credits every academic year or every year. So if you started in the fall of 2024, we would ideally have liked you to have 15 credits so that this way you're halfway there, and then next semester in the spring you can take another 15 credits, and you've hit that 30 credit mark for eligibility for Excelsior. If you're taking 12 credits, then you'll have to make up those credits somehow, maybe in the winter session, maybe in the summer session, which you will have to pay for. So Excelsior will not cover any of those things. If you fail classes, again, you have to make up those credits. And the way that they get their return on investment is that you must live and work in New York for the amount of time that you have had the scholarship. So if you've had the scholarship for a year, you have to live and work in New York for a year. If you've had it for 2 years, 2 years. If you decide, well, I don't want to stay, I've got the scholarship, but I'm leaving, it will turn into a no interest loan, and you will have to pay it back. So like I said, it covers fall and spring only. You can't already have a degree. When it first came out, I had so many calls. People were like, this is great, I can come back and get a free. No, you can't come back. One time only. If you change your major, it's enormously problematic. It's very troublesome. I worked with a student a few years ago. He was a culinary student the first semester. He was Excelsior. And after the first semester, he came and said, I hate culinary. I want to be criminal justice. Okay. No culinary courses fit in criminal justice. So he had to spend a lot of time and a lot of money in the winter session and the summer sessions to catch up on credits to get to that 30 credit mark in his degree. You have to be on track to complete a 2-year degree in 2 years, 4-year degree in 4 years. If you're going to a pharmacy program, let's say, is 5 years, you will have to complete the program in 5 years. They do make exceptions for things like that. There can be no gap in enrollment. You can't take a semester off and backpack through Europe. There are exceptions like appeal exceptions if you become ill in the middle of the semester or if some other thing sort of derails you from your academics in a particular semester. There are those options. So my most important information about Excelsior is if you are interested at all in doing Excelsior, please make sure that you speak to a financial aid counselor. Please make sure that that financial aid counselor knows the courses that you're taking, knows what you're projecting to take. Keep in touch with that counselor if things are not going well for you academically so that we can make a plan to help you get to those 30 credits. Because once you lose the scholarship, you cannot get it back. If you become ineligible and you fail and you're not ever going to get back to the number of credits that you need, you will be completely ineligible if you're not eligible for an appeal. So we try and pay special attention to our Excelsior students and make sure that they are on track so they don't lose the scholarship. I was going to say something else about it, but I forgot. I'll think about it. I'll think of it. It's a really, good program. A lot of rules, just a lot of rules, a lot of places where you can easily kind of get off track. So definitely come and speak to us about it if you're interested. Oh, that's what it was. If you're taking developmental classes. So sometimes students come to the college and they're not quite ready to handle college level mathematics, or they might not be ready to handle college level English. So they are put in a developmental class. It's still eligible for financial aid for Pell and TAP and all those other things, but it is not Excelsior eligible because it's not college level credit. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're taking classes, but you're taking a 4-credit math class that is not college level, Excelsior is not going to acknowledge that as 12 credits. We're going to need to get you into another course to make you full-time in degree in college level credits while you take that 4-credit math class. So that this way you'll ultimately probably need to take a winter session class or a summer session class to get to those 30 credits. So that's what I said. Please, please make sure you talk to a financial aid counselor, show them what your schedule is, and so that they can help you plan out. Are you going to be done with this degree in 2 years? Are you going to be done with this degree in 4 years? Because if you're not going to be eligible for Excelsior. All right, quick information about Suffolk. We will tell you, and this is pretty universal. The colleges are going to tell you what you're missing. It happens much less frequently now because of this direct data exchange, but you may, in some point, be selected for verification. Verification is a process by which the federal government gives this financial aid office authority to collect your taxes and look at them and make sure they're right and make sure that what you reported is accurate. It matches. All right. Like I said, since they started this direct data exchange, there's far fewer of them, but they do pop up every once in a while. You might be called upon to get your taxes verified. We'll let you know. If you're not making progress, we'll let you know. Happens a lot after the fall semester that students come in and they want to, start their spring semester, and I tell you didn't make SAP, and you lost your aid. So those are very difficult conversations, but we'll definitely tell you that you have to file an appeal. This is again universal. Financial aid is not going to cover courses that are not in your degree. So if you are taking 12 credits in your degree, you are full-time in degree, then you can take whatever you want. But if you're taking 9 credits and that last 3-credit class is not in your degree, financial aid's not going to cover it. And also TAP, you lose your TAP because you're not full-time for TAP purposes. So, but again, and this goes for any college, if you know that the class that you're taking is in your degree, go talk to somebody. There could be a little glitch in the system. It happens. We have many, many, many scholarships, as a lot of schools would like. We have in-house scholarships. At this point, all of them have been awarded for the fall semester. But I tell students, go take a look. And I also tell students that there's sort of a little dirty little secret out there that many scholarships go unawarded. Because people don't want to write an essay, they don't want to get letters of recommendation, so they just don't apply. And the money just sits there. So there's a lot of opportunity. So I tell students, even though all the scholarships have been awarded at this point, or the application for them is closed, take a look. You can get prepared for next year. Go get that letter of recommendation, write that essay. Do you need to strive for a particular GPA? Strive for that particular GPA, because that money is sitting there and it might go to you. And it doesn't matter if you already have lots of financial aid, it's a scholarship. Again, if you need assistance, there's a ton of them on our website. Go take a look. And whatever school you might be interested in, I'm sure there are many in-house scholarships there as well. Bank Mobile, there's a good possibility that if you're getting full Pell and full TAP, we owe you money. So if you're getting full Pell, which is going to be about $3,000, and full TAP is probably going to be about $2,000 or so, right? You're getting a refund. And that is meant to help students with what we call cost of attendance. Every college in the country is required by law to publish their cost of attendance, all right, which means tuition, fees, books, transportation, room and board, miscellaneous. So you can kind of take a look and see, well, what is it going to cost me to go to X school? What is it going to cost me to go to this school as opposed to that school? So, and the federal government and the state government know that. So they give you this extra money. They give the student this extra money so that this way they can buy gas, food, books, other things that they might need, because they know they're likely not working or not working full time, and they need money to kind of keep themselves going. So we will owe you like $2,000, $2,500. The best way for us to get it to you is through this outfit called Bank Mobile. You can create an account with them. They send you their own debit card, or you can tell them, put it in my already existing bank account. You give them their rounding number, sort of like direct deposit, or you do absolutely nothing, which we don't recommend, because checks get lost in the mail. But they'll hold your money for like a month, and then they'll finally send you out a check. The other two ways, you get your money instantly. So Pell and TAP will disperse in the next couple of weeks. So students who are waiting for their refunds now, they know that we owe them money. Pell and TAP will be dispersing in the next couple of weeks, and that money will get into their account. Okay, now we have questions. So there was a hand over here. I think you have to go to a New York State school. Yeah. Yes. Oh, the assets? Okay, right. Okay, assets are rental property if you have a second home, if you, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, college savings plans, 529 plans, those things are considered assets, and you will need to report them. Yes. Yes. No. So, great question. Great question. Okay, so the parent only needs one FSA ID and password. All right, they're always going to stay the parent. The students need their own, each individual FSA ID and password. Great question. Yes. There used to be, not anymore. They've adjusted the formula in such a way that they no longer look at that, but they don't quote me on exactly the methodology around it, but they do mathematically figure it out another way. Like I said, don't ask me. It's very complicated. Yeah. There was a hand over here, and then yeah, go ahead. Yep. Two separate. You can go home tonight and get an FSA ID and password for you. Your son or daughter will need to go get an FSA ID and password for themselves. Okay? Right, exactly. Yes. Oh, so you would go onto the school's website, okay, and Google their financial aid department. And if you need help, call me. I'll do it. I'll do the FAFSA with you if you need help. I'll do it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So there's, as I said, there's a brand new formula that they came up with this past year. The question was about whether or not the money or your eligibility is going to change based on your income and the number of people in your family. Yes. Yeah. But their methodology is completely different. So now it's completely new. Like I said, it is related or connected to the federal poverty guidelines. So it's very complicated, this kind of math stuff that they put together. Sure, you can go online and say federal methodology for financial aid. Good luck.
Do you know it?
No, no, sorry. You can go on their you can go onto their website and see the federal methodology and figure out, how many people in the household, what the income is for 2023, and figure out that will give you maybe a ballpark of your SAI, maybe. Yes, and then we'll go back here. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. Yes. Right. So your son is going to be asked, who is your contributor? He's going to put in your information. All right. So then you're going to get an email that says, do you know so-and-so? He or she has identified you as a contributor. If you wish to proceed with this process, you give consent. Okay. And then you log in with your username and password, and then you can finish your portion of the FAFSA. As long as you have a working FSA ID and password, and you give consent, that direct data exchange should work without any issue. There was a question over here. I'll go back over there. Yes. And we'll start with you, and then we'll go back there. Okay. Good. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Whoever makes the most amount has to report. They don't talk about custodial anymore. I think they're going to require that both mother and father, okay, even though not married, will both have to put in the information. Each party will need an FSA ID and password. Correct. Yeah. Yes. Uh-huh. She could apply to Suffolk. Yeah, she could apply to Suffolk, no problem. Now, there's no real timing issue. The only timing issue will be like when the bill is due in August and school starts in a day, and you haven't put in Suffolk into the FAFSA. That's when the problems start, because then you have to go in and make a correction, 2 weeks. Yeah, I would do it as soon as the, Ms. Yoni Kohler and I were talking about it before, like when should we? No. So we're planning on doing a FAFSA completion night sometime in the new year. And I would say let's do it in January or beyond, because I'm not confident that it's really going to open December 1st. And there's probably glitch, they're still working on the glitches from this year. So the answer to Yeah. Yes. No, but they will be reported. They're going to be put into the direct data exchange. So all of that's going to get reported with your financial information from your taxes. But they were not considered asset. Yeah. Yes. It is going to ask you how many people are living in this household, and it's going to ask you, do you provide more than 50% of this person's expenses? Okay, so at that point, you will make the determination as to whether or not, and it gives you a time frame. It'll tell you like from June 30th of this year to July 1st of the next year. And it'll say, have you provided more than 50% of this person's financial support? And you will count that person in your household if that is indeed the case. And then it's going to ask you, so then you will say, so that person is going to be counted in your household. And then it's going to say, okay, of the number of people in this household, how many people are going to college? Okay, and that's how they make that decision. Yes. Yes, the Excelsior Scholarship has an application that will require you to do Pell and Tap first. If you haven't done Pell and Tap first, they'll instantly stop you and say, go back and do that Pell and Tap first. And another important thing about Excelsior is it's only open, they only keep it open for like a very short period of time. So it's not open now. It won't open again, I want to say, until probably later in the year to capture the people who are starting in January. So what you can do is you can go onto their website and put in your email, and they'll send you an email when it does open. And it's like I said, in the summer, it's probably open a little longer, maybe a month and a half, but then it closes. And in the winter session, or coming up right now, I want to say it's probably going to open sometime in November or December, in anticipation of the January starters. Financial aid for 25, 26, right? Because we're talking about the fall of 25 and the spring of 26 is likely opening December 1st.
We went through this a lot last year because it was, it's coming out October 1st. Sorry. It's coming out soon. Sorry. We mean it this time. It's coming out. So what I did last year was I sent families a lot of information and a lot of reminders. And I will do that again this year, where if I know something, you will know something. The FAFSA completion event, I understand your hesitation. I understand your trepidation with all of this, that there is a lot riding on it, right? You're okay. We will get you through this. The idea of the FAFSA completion event is something I want you guys to keep in your back pocket, because last year, Julie and I had we had our sneakers on and we were running. We had the FAFSA completion event and we had dozens upon dozens upon dozens of families sitting in the high school cafeteria with their Chromebooks and their tax returns, filling out their FAFSAs right there with us. And we were running around helping you guys do it. So we are not sitting there saying, hey, here's your presentation. Good luck. We're going to help you. It's okay. And the other thing I want to say is that any school that your kids are applying to, do not be afraid to reach out to their offices of financial aid. But here is the caveat. If your children are not accepted yet, your children are the ones that should be reaching out, because it is showing a level of maturity. It is showing a level of involvement, because they are the ones technically that this process is for. I see that across the room, it's parents, it's guardians, it's people sitting there going, yeah, but where's the money coming from, right? So, but the reality is the loans will be in their names. The application is in their names. So they need to be the ones that are very active in this, especially when you're communicating with the colleges. On the FAFSA completion event, they have to be there. I have so many times that parents show up and say, okay, I'm here to do this, but if your child is not there, we can't. Yeah. You need your actual income tax. It has to be filed. Yes, printed out physical copies are important. I just want to draw your attention to the Connect-Quad High School Guidance webpage. Now, right here on the sidebar, if I can find where the mouse went, there is a link to financial aid links and resources, okay? So clicking on this while you're waiting, this is gonna get updated again tomorrow with the new information after tonight. But I wanna draw your attention to things that I put out there last year. So this is a link to the FAFSA. It will bring you to the website. A link to the Pell Grant right there. There's a link to talk about what are the changes to FAFSA. How do I prepare for that? So this is something where it's all there for you if it would load. The form is coming soon. We expect it to be available on December 1st. All of these things are there, and I update this website for you as a resource. So if you're not sure, please refer to it. You can reach out to me at the school at any point, and I can let you know what I know. But I do want you to know that I will be sending information to you as I am aware. If I know that the FAFSA is going to open, I will send something to you saying, hey, it's going to open. I do want to bring your attention to the fact that last year, the TAP application was available first. And there were families that came to the FAFSA completion event having completed TAP, and it did cause an issue when they were attempting to complete their FAFSA. So I would ask you to please wait. As much as you want to get a jump on it, you see that something's available, you think, okay, let me get started, please wait and do FAFSA first, and then roll directly into the next thing. My best advice to you would be start with the federal application when it is available. You will not be locked out of anything by following that process. So I understand, but it will happen if we just let it unfold the way that it's supposed to. Question over here. Yes. Is there a high volume of server problems? Absolutely. So I will tell you that the first week that the FAFSA was open, people could not submit FAFSA, especially because they're used to it being open October 1st. Now you've made me wait. Well, everything's ready. Let me get on. And then also it's a new form. It's a new glitch to begin with. So you don't have to jump on it the day that it's open. Just because you jump on it the day that it's open doesn't mean you're getting more. You're going to get what is eligible to you through the formula. So if you wait a week, or if it's, let's say it's available December 1st, but just throwing a date out there, our completion event is January 15th. You're going to be fine if you wait for that. And it's the 24-25 application is still open now for this current school year. So you've got plenty of time. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah. For this year. Yeah, but like if kids are going to school in January and they're starting in January, they can still apply for financial aid. Yeah. Correct. So that's where it's the benefit if you get your FSA ID now, if the student and the parent get the FSA ID now, you're probably going to get a heads up when it becomes available because you're going to be in the system as someone who is ready to complete a FAFSA. So they'll give you that notification in the database. But again, the FSA ID, you got to hold on to that. You can't lose that. And if you have multiple children, if this is your first child going through the process, you need to keep it safe so that it is ready for when the subsequent children come up through the pipeline. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. No, only do it when your child is ready to apply. Yeah. So if you apply, let's say your child's in 11th grade and you're like, I'm going to do a FAFSA, it's void because it's not actually going to any institution. So what happens with the FAFSA process is that your children first do the applications. They first apply to college. We recommend in Connecticut High School that kids get their applications in by Halloween. It's not a hard and fast deadline, but we recommend that because then we can now start the application for financial aid. So when your child gets their applications in, they know now I need to submit a financial aid application to these schools. Then they will get their acceptances. Once they get their acceptances from the schools, the next piece that happens after that is the financial aid process, where after you get the acceptance, then you get the financial aid package. So it's kind of all happens in sequence with that way, so we don't want to skip any steps. There's a question up here.
No, they're gonna just migrate it over doing this direct data exchange. So you shouldn't have to go through your tax return, okay? There have been times where there have been questions, maybe they do a thing called skip logic, okay? Where depending on the question that you answered, like question 1 will take you down one pathway if you answered it one way, or it'll take you down another pathway if you answered it a different way. So they do this thing called skip logic. That's why I would say have your taxes handy, because they might ask you a question about them. But for the most part, data information is just going to get transferred. And another thing I wanted to tell you is Suffolk offers a Financial Aid 102, which is a step-by-step, screen-by-screen look at the FAFSA. So if you want to sign up for one, it's for this year's FAFSA, it's for the 24-25, but you can kind of get a look at the application and see the kinds of questions that they're going to ask you. They're only going to, in your case, they're going to ask you for 2023, not for 2022. But you can kind of get a look and say, oh, okay, this is how this whole application works. So I would recommend that you do that. You go on our website, Financial Aid 102. There are a bunch of them coming up, and they're in Spanish and English too.
The other thing to keep in mind is that this is a process that's different than, so if you have children that have gone through and you've submitted FAFSA for this current school year, it is not the same process. So your tax information will transfer over and populate in the form where you are not looking line by line and copying over data. So that's the whole idea behind the simplification process, because there were a lot of zeros that were thrown around in the wrong places, in the positive and negative for people. That's the idea of simplifying. I'm going to get a question over here. So the question was if the Pell Grant could be discussed.
So FAFSA is the thing that runs the Pell Grant. So that's the whole thing of it. When you complete your FAFSA, you will get, if you are awarded a grant, it's called a Pell Grant. You might also be awarded SCOG, which is additional federal financial aid that is distributed through the financial aid office. And there are certain guidelines that the financial aid office utilizes to determine who's going to get some SCOG money. That's all grant money. You do not have to pay that back. No, it works in a formula depending on your SAI, and it also works with your enrollment intensity. So if you're full-time, you're going to get 100%. If you're 11 credits, you're going to get 98 points. I don't even know the breakdown of it, but it goes by whatever your SAI is, as well as your enrollment intensity. How many credits are you taking? So they're going to likely send you like an award letter, and they're going to say your SAI is whatever, okay, and that means you're eligible for X number. That number will I think it will always be reflective of being a full-time 12 credit student, okay? If you're only going to go for 3 credits, that number is going to change because it's going to be prorated based on your enrollment intensity.
Okay, sorry.
Sure. Absolutely. Go get an FSA ID password tonight. Absolutely. Go get it. And have it. If you're going to come to the event, we highly recommend getting an FSA ID and password already set up. Come to the event prepared, because this way you have your ID, pop it in, and the thing will go really fast. Believe me, it'll go fast. Yes? Okay.
There is not a separate application for the Pell Grant. By filling out FAFSA, you are entering automatically for the chance for a Pell Grant. So by doing that one FAFSA application, you are giving yourself the opportunity to get a Pell Grant. No, TAP is a separate application. So you do all of FAFSA, And then it says, great, you're done. But are you? Do you want to do this? And the answer is yes. That's the TAP application. You automatically do that right after. And this way it's done right there. All of your stuff is in. Can you keep getting scholarships? Absolutely. Our scholarship night, I looked it up, is January 27th. Come to that. And I will give you a very similar message to what Ms. Van Nostrand said, in the idea that there is money left on the table every year because kids don't apply. If you think you're eligible, apply. If you get more money than you need to pay for your tuition, good job. Keep it in the back pocket for next semester or whatever you need it to be. 100%. When you get a scholarship, unless the scholarship is issued directly to the university for tuition, it is typically issued as an award directly to the student to be used at the student's discretion. So that's something, you know, if you got it, go for it. All right, guys. Yes. Sub and unsub.
So if you are a first-time student, you are eligible for the maximum amount. You have 0 credits up until 31 credits, and you're dependent. That means you are not over age 24. You're still connected to your parents. All right. Your first semester, you are eligible for $5,500 a year. All right. That's what? Max. That's the maximum that you're allowed. If you are an independent student and you have more than 32 credits, you might be eligible for $10,500 per year. Again, always cut in half. But within that $5,500, right, you're offered a loan right off the bat for $3,500. So that's sort of like the base loan. I know it's very confusing. That's correct. A year.
From the federal government.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Right. What? Right. So the FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Federal student aid can be called a grant or a loan. It's all financial aid. And you're right. If the tuition is $50,000 a year and you're only getting $5,500, you got a lot to make up.
So it's your student aid index, and the maximum is that 5. So we're talking about federal money. This is the federal money that you can get per year. So you're filling this out saying, government, Uncle Sam, please give me money. And they'll say, okay, but I can only give you this. The pot is only so deep. There's only so much that we can pull from. So where else does it come from? Right? That could be scholarships, and we're not talking about academic scholarships where, let's say a school is $50,000. Well, you have a 92 GPA, so right off the bat, you're getting a $20,000 scholarship. Like, all of those things will come into play in the admissions process, which is why we say apply first. Because very often when you apply, your admission letter will also have a scholarship award included with your admission letter. So right then and there's money coming right off the top. And then your financial aid award letter will come later saying, okay, you can also get this federal loan, this federal grant. So now all of this, your total line item to go to this school is this. And you'll get that for each school that you're accepted to, a unique individual letter with your financial aid information for each school. But that is why you bring up a great point. If a school is $50,000 a year, but we're only getting $5,500 from the federal government, where is it all coming from? We recommend that students apply to schools that are financial, reaches, and safety schools. So what does that look like? Having those honest conversations around the table saying, this is how much it costs to go there. This is what the number we can handle is. How do we do the rest? And whether that is, if you're comfortable taking out private loans, that's something that plenty of people do. But if not, then say, okay, well, what are the other options? Whether that be a community college, a SUNY school, or we know that there are scholarship monies that are needed to do that. It's not an easy conversation, but I think it's a very necessary one to make sure that, you know, you're putting your child in the position to know what they're taking on, because again, this is their loan process. That's the idea, that educational counseling, so that they understand, I'm taking this on. This is, as much as my parents may be helping me, this is in my name, and I'm responsible to pay it back at the end of the day. I'll take one more question, and then we do have business cards up front from Ms. Van Nostrand. If you have any questions, you can get to me at the high school at any point. But again, one more question, and then we'll wrap up for the evening.
There is a TAP max. It's probably about $5,000 again a year. Remember, everything that we talk about is going to get cut in half, fall, spring. Yeah. And also just an FYI about the loans. When do the loans go into payment status? So if you are not enrolled in if you're not enrolled in 6 credits, or not enrolled in 6 months, your loan will go into payment status. So if you just keep on going to school and you're enrolled in 6 credits, your loan will be deferred until you are, if let's say you start to go to school and you have lots of loans, but you're only enrolled in 3 credits, your loan will go into payment status, and they'll call you and say, okay, it's time to start paying back that loan. So that's how loans work. Thank you so much, everyone. Please don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email. I'll be happy to